Hello everybody, my name is Oscar Raven and today I'm going to ask myself the question, can I beat Pokemon Platinum with only a Carnivine? Carnivine is actually a pretty decent Pokemon, with 454 total stats, having decent amount of attack and special attack. The main reason I wanted to use it is because A, I've never used it, and because B, it's a very stupid looking Pokemon to me and I love the fact that this thing will be able to kill this thing. Its moveset is okay, I guess, but where it really shines is its TM list, since it is a lot more varied than I was expecting, having things like Energy Ball, Sludge Bomb, and Giga Impact. I think these moves could do the trick. Now some rules. I can only use Carnivine in battle. Other Pokemon will be present in my party for TMs. I can't use items in battle, such as healing or X items, and I won't be able to use any glitches or cheats or exploits to make the game easier. Now let's begin. I start off by naming myself Husk and my rival Barry because frankly I don't care about him and he's never been a real threat. Then I go north to get my Pokemon from Professor Rowan and there it is, Carnivine, hiding under a Torchwick for some reason, and of course now Barry wants to fight. The fight is not very entertaining since it's me using Bind over and over and over again and Barry using Lair instead of just killing me because this specific AI wants to take it easy on all of the poor children who are too stupid to figure out how a Pokemon works. Finally, after killing Barry's monkey with my plant, I start grinding, since I know I won't be able to do much against anyone until I at least get a bite. So I grind very slowly on Starlies and Bidoofs, and finally reach level 7, and finally I'm able to name my plant. I call her Sea Carly, because I can't spell and legitimately didn't realize that there was a C already when I started typing Carly. Professor Rowan soon after gives me Return, and I quickly teach it to Sea Carly since it is a move that bases off friendship, and if friendship is max, it can hurt a lot. Next, I keep moving through the route and start the first rival battle, and it doesn't go too great. I'm able to take down Starly with 2 bites after taking quick attack, but Chimchar comes out and as I helplessly try and take it down with bite, it uses Leer and finally finishes me off with 2 scratches, one of them being a crit. I grind a little bit until level 10 and it went a lot better. Barry starts off with quick attack as I nearly one-shot it with bite, finishing it off in the next turn, and the monkey was just a 2-hit with bite. Now we can head east to Orberg City to challenge the first gym. I wasn't very scared for this gym since Sea Carly is a grass type and Berg uses rock types. He led with Geodude and I open up with Vine Whip, nearly taking it out, leaving him with only his liver as he sets up Stealth Rock. Next turn Berg uses a potion, but one more Vine Whip is enough to take it out. Next comes Onyx and outspeeds me, hitting Sea Carly with Rock Throw, and I respond with Vine Whip, leaving him in deep yellow health. Next turn he uses a potion again, as I again use Vine Whip, leaving him with just a little bit of health. Finally, next turn I finish him off right after he lets out one final screech. Finally, Cranidos. And I was actually pretty scared for this guy since he can hurt a lot very quickly. Starts off with Leer as I use my signature move Vine Whip, taking off just over half its health. Next turn he headbutts, leaving me with only 2 HP as I manage to get one more Vine Whip, winning the fight. That is the exact reason I fear Cranidos. Next we head all the way to Floroma Town, but just at the exit of Jubilite City some losers won a battle. A double battle, with Dawn. Nothing really happened here, we just swept the floor with them. After that, I catch a Geodude, teach him Rock Smash and climb a hill so I can finally reach any persons with allergies worst nightmare. To reaching Floroma Town, we have to save some dude who was dumb enough to get captured, so we start bullying every single nerd with our tiny potted plants until we reach Commander Mars. I'm not gonna lie, she wrecked me. So after a little bit of grinding and getting destroyed again, I just straight up to level 19 and was finally able to finish off the Perugly. After finally slaying the ugliest cat in existence, I move to Eterna Forest where I meet Cheryl, and she asks you to help her because she's too much of a coward to go in there alone, even though everything in there are worms, tiny rabbits, and whatever this is. The good thing is that after the whole thing, she gives me a Soothe Spell that I can give to Sea Carly, so our friendship grows faster, so returning her as much as possible. In Eterna City, I'm able to challenge Gardenia, who uses grass types, so I would say this fight would be pretty even. She starts with Turtwig as I send out the apex predator of plants. I outspeed and use Vine Whip as she uses Reflect so her team will get more defense. Next turn I use Ingrain for the first and probably last time in my life as she sets up a sunny day. After a couple of turns, the little turtle goes down. Next comes Roserade. Kinda scary. She outspeeds and uses Stun Spore so now I'm paralyzed, as I manage to hit a return for almost half health. We trade hits with her using Magical Leaf and me using Return, but in the end I come out on top. Last is Cheryl. She opens up with Safeguard and I of course answer with Return for again almost half its health. She then uses Grass Knot for the skinniest plant alive as I again use Return, leaving her in deep yellow health. She then heals as we start trading hits, but I managed to succeed. Now I have to go to a building to take care of some galactic grunts, but this time I just swept the floor with the most resilient herb ever. Next I head to Celestic City, learning Feint Attack along the way and replacing it for Bite, and start taking on the Ghost Gym. This gym is supposed to be all dark and spooky, but for some reason it was all lit up for me. I must have messed up with some of the emulator settings without realizing it. Anyways, Fantina's minions didn't stand a chance except for that one fecker that knocked me out and I had to go all the way back to Urberg City. I was kinda angry. So after a little journey back, I challenged Fantina. She starts with Duskull, but I'm faster, so I just use Feint Attack for a one-shot. Hunter is next, using Confuse Ray and confusing me, great script writing right there, but I managed to still land a Feint Attack and one-shot it. And finally, Miss Magius, who hits C. Carly with a Shadow Ball as I leave it in deep yellow health with a Feint Attack. Next turn the same thing goes down, but this time C. Carly gets the win. Right after that we have to fight Barry, and this time he actually puts up a fight. He starts with Staravia, who has Intimidate, lowering my attack for the rest of the battle. Not sure how this bird can be scary, but if Shinx is scary, I'll give it a pass. He starts by using Double Team as I hit a return for 3/4 of its health. Next turn he uses Wing Attack, dealing a chunky amount of damage as I hit return again, taking it out. Next comes Monferno, but its Flame Wheels overpower C. Carly, so she goes down. So I do a little bit of grinding, but while grinding I realized that C. Carly gets speed very slowly. So I looked up her EXP rate and it turns out it's slow, meaning it takes more XP than usual to level her up. Luckily, this doesn't seem to be that much of a roadblock since I either don't have to grind at all, or I grind up just one level and then take the fight on again. So after a bit of grinding, I take on Barry again. He again opens up with Staravia, but this time I'm faster and hit him with return before he uses Double Team. Next turn though, I miss and he uses Endeavor, a move that lowers the opponent's HP to the user's HP. And with such low health, C. Carly can't take Monferno. This same exact thing happened again until I was able to two-shot the Staravia without getting touched, took down the Monferno in another 2 hits, only taking a single Flame Wheel, Rosalia another 2-shot just after getting paralyzed, and Weasel is just a Vine Whip. Now I'm able to move on to Veilstone City to challenge the Fighting type gym. I'm a little worried about this one since I don't have any moves that'll be very good, but I hope it doesn't go too badly. She opens with Meditite, but I outspeed and one-shot him. Next comes Lucario, and it's kinda scary since he can resist pretty much all of my moves. He outspeeds and uses Force Palm as I use my new move, Ring Out. It determines its damage based on how much health the target has. Next turn she uses Drain Punch and I use Crunch out of sheer stupidity, dealing almost no damage. For the next 2 turns she uses Force Palm as I use Return. C. Carly is able to take Lucario out, but is left with only 29 health. Last is Machoke, but he goes down in one hit with Ring Out. I already finished the run by the time I'm writing this script, and I just want to say I love this move. After defeating Maylene, I'm able to move on to Pastoria City to take on the Water Gym. But Barry challenges me to a fight right in front of the gym. He starts with Staravia, lowering my attack, but C. Carly outspeeds and uses Ring Out, OHKOing it. Next comes Monferno, but again C. Carly outspeeds and takes it out in one hit using Ring Out. Next is Rosalia. I use Return, taking out almost all of its health, and she answers with Poison Sting, dealing almost no damage, but poisoning C. Carly. I just use Return again to take it out on the next turn. Out next is Weasel, but he just goes down to one Vine Whip. Again, Barry isn't really much of a challenge, so now with Crasher Wake. This fight actually took a couple of tries since Floatzel's Ice Fang messed me up a lot, but on the 3rd try I got it. He starts the battle with Gyarados, who lowers my attack with Intimidate. C. Carly outspeeds and uses Ring Out, taking the Gyarados into deep yellow health, as he uses Bite for 18 damage. We just take him out with a return on the next turn. Floatzel is out now, and he outspeeds using Ice Fang, taking me down to 80 health, as I use Ring Out, taking him down to what seemed to be 1 health, but he healed with a Citrus Berry. C. Carly tanks another Ice Fang, and Floatzel goes down to a return. Last is Quagsire. I use Ring Out for almost all of its health, as he uses Rock Tomb for almost none of mine. He then heals with a Hyper Potion, but one more Ring Out is enough to finish the job. I told you that I love this thing. I'ma abuse it to death, just you wait. Now we can head up to Celestic City because all of the Psyducks have finally decided to do something with themselves and back off, where we fight Cyrus. It wasn't particularly hard, but I'm getting worried for what's coming. He opens up with Sneasel, who hits an Ice Punch for 50 health, before I can land a return for almost all of its health. Next turn he uses a Hyper Potion as I again use Return, then my poor plant takes another Ice Punch to the face, but one more return finally puts the Sneasel in an early grave. Golbat is out now. C. Carly outspeeds and uses Ring Out, nearly taking it out, allowing him to use Air Cutter, leaving her with only 8 health. Thankfully, one more return takes the bat out, and lastly is a little bird named Murkrow, who is thankfully crushed under the might of C. Carly. Considering how close this was, I am really not looking forward to the fight at the Galactic HQ, or even worse, the one in the Distortion World. After that, we go over to Canalave City, where again I am ambushed by Barry, who wants to fight. I wasn't healed up and my moves were on low PP, so I went down. Next attempt though, I was able to sweep the floor with him. Staraptor opens up, but again, one Ring Out is enough. Heracross is next, but he just goes down, so a Ring Out and one return, just before taking a bit of my health away with Night Flash. Infernape comes out using Flame Wheel, leaving me on 94 HP, but one critical ring out is enough to take it out. Roselia goes down to the same ring out return combo, and Floatzel uses Swift for some reason, allowing me to take it out easily with one ring out. I would chill using this move, but honestly if I did, this run would either be impossible or just packed with grinding, and I don't want either of those. Now, finally, we can take on Bryce. And since his Pokemon are all very heavy, I decided to switch out Vine Whip for Grass Knot, and it definitely paid off. He opened with Magnemite, who was immediately slain with Ring Out. So next comes Steelix, who went down to one Grass Knot, and lastly was Bastiodon, who only managed to hang on thanks to its chunkiness and actually managed to hit Carly, but went down on the next turn. Now this is the part of Platinum where you have to go to all the different lakes and take down all of the galactic grunts, but honestly they are all inferior beings compared to the demigod that I have created before your very eyes. So let's just move to the good stuff, which is the Ice Gym. I was terrified of this gym, considering that the combo of Frostlass and Abomasnow is horrible. Abomasnow sets up Hail thanks to Snow Warning, and Frostlass uses Blizzard, which can't miss while it's hailing, but also raises its evasions thanks to Snowcloak. So in summary, I was terrified. But to my very surprise, it went very well. Sneasel was out first, who used Ice Shard for 32 of my health, as Ring Out left it in deep red health. She then used a Hyper Potion, as I again used Ring Out, leaving it with a sliver. Finally, she uses Aerial Ace for a decent chunk of Carly's health, as I finish it off with a return. And here is where Candice made the huge mistake of sending Frostlass before Abomasnow. She uses Blizzard and missed, so one crunch just took her out. Piloswine then came out, but it just went down to a Grass Knot, and finally Abomasnow went down to a Ring Out and a return because it too missed Blizzard. That fight was supposed to be a lot worse, but you know what? I'm not gonna complain and I'm gonna move on to the Galactic HQ. This is the fight that I've been dreading. His team is only composed of by a Sneasel, a Crobat, and a Honchkrow, and as you would be able to tell, they all have at least one super effective move on Candice, meaning I had an amazingly horrible time trying to beat him. I tried the fight for over 15 minutes at level 61 and wasn't able to defeat him. Then I tried again at level 64 and again it wasn't enough. So finally at level 67 I was able to defeat him. Also I held a Citrus Berry during the fight, which is probably the best decision I've ever made. Again I am faced with my new mortal enemy Sneasel, who of course outspeeds and lands an Ice Punch for 60 damage as I take him out in a single return. Next is Crobat, who also outspeeds and lands a Poison Fang, leaving Carly just under half health, but then is restored to healthy green health because of the berry and lands a return that leaves the Crobat with about a third of its health. Next turn he uses Supersonic, confusing Carly, but she was not tainted by the confusion and landed another return without smacking herself in the face. Next was Honchkrow, who almost goes down to a Ring Out and recovers to yellow health because of the berry, and hits Carly with Drill Peck, taking over 100 of her health before going down to a return. This fight alone took me a little bit over an hour if you add up the attempts and the grinding, so I really don't want to fight him in the Distortion World, but guess what? To the Distortion World we go, and traversing this bloody place was more annoying than ever. Also, I want to mention that after the fight with Cyrus, I decided to buy a Silk Scarf and a Metronome on the game corner just because I feel like those items could come in very useful. So, after traversing the most annoying place known to a human, I reached Cyrus, and I'll save you the trouble of telling you it wasn't even close. So I tried again a level higher, doing the whole feckin' climb all over again, and nothing. Then going back down the mountain, and grinding to level 74, and then climbing all the way back up, determined to beat him once and for all. I gave my tiny weed a berry, and with enough luck, I got this fight. He opens with Houndoom, but he goes down to a single Ring Out. Next comes Crobat, who uses Cross Poison for 54 HP, as Carly lands a powerful Ring Out. Cyrus uses a full restore as Carly lands a return, leaving the bat in deep yellow health. Next turn, Crobat misses a Toxic somehow, so Carly finishes it off with another return. Up next is Honchkrow, but one Ring Out is enough to deal with it. Weavile comes out using Fake Out, making Carly flinch. Next turn he uses Ice Punch, taking the Carly down to yellow health, but because of the berry she climbs back up to a beautiful 123 HP, as her return leaves the Weavile with a quarter of its health. Next turn Weavile uses Ice Punch again, leaving Carly in rough shape, but one more return does the job. Now the final hurdle for this awful fight. Gyarados, who does nothing and gets taken out with the old Ring Out return combo. Now I can catch the god of antimatter himself, Giratina, and of course I name him Fecker and stuff it in my back pocket along with some gum and some loose change. Now after casually saving the whole universe, I can go back to collecting all of my little badges, so I head on over to Sunny Shore City and take on Volker. The only reason he took a couple of attempts is because I was getting horrible paralysis luck, and that stupid Raichu just refused to die. But finally, on the 4th or 5th attempt, I got him. He starts with Jolteon using Iron Tail, dealing next to no damage, as I hit him with Return for an Oko. Next is the second bane of my existence, Raichu, but this time it goes down to a Ring Out. Next is Luxray, who gets hit with a Ring Out, but lives with what looks to be 0.01 health, and hits C-Carly with an Ice Fang. Volkner uses a full restore, but Luxray goes down to 2 returns. Lastly is Electivire, who tanks a Ring Out, hits C-Carly with a Fire Punch, and then goes down to a return, finally getting us all 8 badges. And you know what that means. Up to the Pokemon League where I will once and for all defeat Barry. And as is tradition, I go down on my first attempt, but on my second try, I do a lot better. He opens up with Staraptor, lowering my attack, but one Ring Out takes it out. Out comes Heracross, and it takes a Ring Out, leaving him in deep red health as he gets off a Night Slash for almost no damage. A C-Carly finishes him off with a return. Out comes Infernape, who uses Shadow Claw for small damage, as C-Carly wrecks him with Ring Out. Roserade goes down just as easy. Floatzel is out, but C-Carly outspeeds and hits a Grass Knot for an Oko. And lastly, Snorlax falls into deep red health because of Grass Knot, hits C-Carly with a Body Slam, paralyzes her, uses Rest, but still goes down to 2 more Grass Knots. Now, the final fights. 4 more trainers before I have to face the scariest Pokemon to ever touch this earth. So, I give C-Carly the Silk Scarf, and going to the first fight. Bugsy was up first, but he managed to really mess me up. Considering that a lot of his Pokemon were flying types, he was able to take me out pretty easily. Plus, his Scizor was an absolute brick wall. But finally, I decided to switch out the Silk Scarf for the Metronome, and man was it a good idea. The Metronome is an item that increases the power of a move the more times it is used consecutively. He opens up with Yanmega, and C-Carly hits a return for big damage, as he uses Double Team. Next turn, he outspeeds and hits a Bug Buzz for a third of C-Carly's health, but one more return is enough. Out comes Vespiquen, who gets hit by a return that leaves her in deep red health and answers with Defense Order. Next turn, Bugsy uses a full restore as C-Carly hits a return for a little bit over half its health, and another return takes it out. Next is Scizor, an absolute tank. C-Carly hits a return, leaving it in yellow health as it uses Night Slash for some reason, so another return takes him out on the next turn. Heracross is out, but one return is enough. And lastly is Drapion, who manages to hit a powerful Cross Poison, leaving our favorite botanical creature with 51 health, but one return is enough to end the oversized Scorpion. Next is Bertha, and considering she's the only ground type Elite Four, I was not worried any. And surprise surprise, I just grass knotted everything she ever loved and moved on to the next one. Flint is up now, and I was really struggling. All of the attempts seemed impossible, and thanks to Rapidash and Infernape, since they just outsped C-Carly. But while looking through my bag, I found some rare candies, and immediately fed them to her to level her up to level 85. And that really made a change. Flint opens up with Houndoom, but C-Carly is more than capable to take it out with one return. Flareon suffered the same fate. Rapidash was out, but somehow this floating plant outsped a literal unicorn, so it went down to a single return. Magmortar fell the same way as his comrades, and finally Infernape managed to get a fair blitz for over half of C-Carly's health, but one return finished the battle. A one-shot sweep on one of the scariest trainers in the game right now. Nice! The last Elite Four was Lucian. He was the only reason I had Crunch in my Pokemon, and I would say it paid off very nicely. He starts off with Mr. Mime, but he wasn't able to take a single Crunch. Espeon managed to outspeed and land the Signal Beam for a quarter of C-Carly's health, but also went down in one hit. Bronzong was out and C-Carly landed another Crunch for half its health as he set up Calm Mind. He didn't get to use it though, since on the next turn he went down. Alakazam was out next and hit a big Psychic before going down to Crunch. Last was Gallade, who tanked a hit which landed him at a third of its health because of Berry, as he used a Psycho Cut, leaving C-Carly at 61 health, but one last Crunch was enough to earn us a fight with the champion, Cynthia. This fight was absolute torture. I tried every single option I had at my disposal. I tried it with the Silk Scarf, I tried it with the Metronome for about an hour and a half, but to no avail. And even got to Lucario sometimes, but I just didn't have enough health to take him out. I considered just going for Giga Drain or for Leftovers because I had no clue what to do, and you may be asking yourself, why didn't I? The answer is I'm stubborn as a mule and I knew I could defeat her at level 85. Until I finally got a last resort idea. I thought since I needed a lot of crits to win this stupid battle, I could use the Razor Claw, an item that increases critical hit chances, so I equipped it and threw myself at the battle for another half an hour and finally got this absolutely blessed run. She always opened with Spiritomb, and when Grass Knot brought it down to very low health as it hit a Silver Wind, dropping me to 202 health. She then full restored as I hit 2 more grass knots to take it out. Next was Togekiss, and C. Carly landed a crit with return, allowing me to move on without taking any damage. That was huge. Roserade came out and she always goes down to 1 return, but then this absolute beast came out. It outsped and used Dragon Rush, leaving C. Carly's health at 117, but she uses Ring Out, landing a crit, taking it out. Absolute euphoria when this happened. Next was Milotic, but it fell to Grass Knot, and finally Lucario. The absolute last hurdle between me and beating the game. I use Ring Out for a third of its health as she uses Aura Sphere, leaving me at 54 HP. Next turn I use Grass Knot. It crit. And finally defeated Cynthia after 2 hours of just trying and trying. And so I was able to officially become champion with the beefiest plant in existence. This run was absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed it. I think it was the perfect mix of not too easy, not too hard. I hope all of you enjoyed. I sure did. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. It would really make my day. And be sure to check out some of my other videos. But that would be it for this one. I will see you the next time. Bye bye.